Okay, so I'm gonna start. All right. All right. So welcome to our client success interview with Mike Mark. Hello, Mike.
Hey guys, how's it going?
For the audience, do you mind introducing yourself and what you do?
Yep. My name's Mike Mark, run a business called Coaching Sales. Effectively, what we do is people come to us when they need a sales rep. Like the founder's usually burnt out taking all the sales calls. Maybe they had a sales rep and that person dipped out on them. And now they're in this position where it's like, crap, I can't scale my business any further because sales is my bottleneck and I desperately need really high quality sales talent. And then that's where we come in. What we normally do is we basically help them find the talent and then grow their sales team. And it's not uncommon for us to see businesses double or triple inside of like 60 to 90 days.
Awesome. And I've seen some of your clients and where they started off and where they are now. It's kind of weird actually to see people grow from like zero to like $1 million run rate in like 60 days.
Yeah, and in like another example, we had a client that came to us in the November, end of October, and then they were at 40, 50 grand a month, and then they just closed out, it's January now, they just closed out January, so it's what, 3, 4 months, and they did 150 grand this month. So it's just like, that's life changing. And when you see it happen that fast, most people don't believe it. They think it's like, how can you do that? But that's just what happens when you scale the headcount of sales reps.
Yeah, I think there's some other magic that you do as well with the numbers and the systems and the sort of the operation side of it that I don't think other people are doing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot more beneath the surface, but for them it's nice when they just think like, oh, I just got a sales rep and it worked.
Yeah, for real. Now, from what I understand of you, you and I have been sort of following each other, online for a long time before we started working together, and we've been working together 5 months now. My understanding is that you are actually as good a copywriter or better than me. And am I? Do I understand you right that you were writing the copy in your business for the long time?
Yeah, I'm really good copywriter, kind of gone through the basics of hand copied all the big sales letters multiple times over, wrote all our own promotions. So I basically wrote our ads, wrote our entire funnel scripts, wrote all the emails, and I was doing all that work myself. I don't know if I'm as good as you. I think maybe we might be able to go toe to toe, but I wouldn't say I'm better than you for sure.
Right. Well, I mean, we're gonna test it. I'm gonna try to beat one of your controls this quarter.
Yep.
All right. So what made you decide to reach out to Dropkick Copy and me specifically?
Uh, it was pretty simple, right? So I'll answer two parts of the question. The first part is why I decided to hire out copy, and then the second part, why specifically you. Um, so the first part of why I decided to hire out copy was just the numbers. So big principle of ours is, in data we trust. And so I'm always looking at the numbers. And I noticed that effectively our advertising was really profitable. And then I would get super busy and then I'd stop writing our daily copy. And then our return on ad spend would dip. And then I'd start writing copy again for organic stuff. And then our return on ad spend would go back up. And after doing it like 2 to 3 times, I think it was 3 times, the pattern was like glaringly obvious. And so I was just like, well, my issue is that, yeah, I'm a really good copywriter, but I got so much going on that I'm inconsistent. And when I write copy, it's doing what I need it to do, but I can't commit to writing copy every day the way I would like to. And so that was why I was like, okay, cool. Well, we need to hire out getting daily content out and daily emails out to our audience. And then specifically why I reached out to Nabeel is there's just a swagger that exists, and some copywriters have it, others don't. Some businesses want it and others don't. What I know in being a good copywriter is the more that you have that sort of like braggadocio, bravado type of like swagger, the better your copy performs. And so I have it in the tone and the way I write. And if you look at any of the best copywriters, you know, the John Carltons, the Gary Halberts, and a lot of these guys, they have this sort of swagger in the way that they write. And when you read it, you feel like you're talking to a friend, and you had that voice. But also, it wasn't just that voice. Like, I knew copywriters who could do that, but they're the type of copywriters that are like out drunk on the weekends and, you know, are making you sweat bullets trying to like make sure you're going to get your deadline delivered. And so like, not only is it important to have the swagger and the tone and the ability to communicate and copy, but it like a big part of being a great copywriter is being consistent with your copy. And when I see most copywriters, they have one or the other, but they don't have both. And so what stood out to me was like that you're unique in that you had both, you know. You were consistently writing on your platforms, and you had that tone. And so that was kind of like, all right, I see where he's at. And I think that reaching out to him would make the most sense.
Awesome. Thank you. And you mentioned something very interesting. So let me understand this correctly. When you were publishing daily content on your social media platforms, your ads would perform better. And when you stopped or fell off for a little while, they would perform worse. Why
3 times
that's happening?
Is good. Consistently, our return on ad spend was 3 times higher when we had daily content than when we didn't have daily content. And so it was just like, well, I'm not stupid. Like, I'm in business to grow a business and make money and help people and like create as big of an impact as I can. In order to do that, like, you got to make some sales. And if your ad spend is not as efficient, then it costs your ability to grow and hit the type of opportunities you want to have.
And you said the ads were performing 3 times as better?
Yep. So like our ROAS was usually about a 5-to-1. And then when we'd write, it would be 4-to-1, 5-to-1, which is still great. Like, most people are like, oh, I'm killing it at a 5-to-1 ROAS. I don't need to do anything better. But when I noticed when I would write copy, we'd be at, you know, anywhere between a 12-to-1 to 16-to-1 on a consistent basis, which is like, most copywriters or advertisers are going to be like claiming that they're the best person in the world if they're hitting those kinds of numbers. And we would be able to do it consistently when we are combining organic with paid.
All right. So then you reached out to me, and the two of us, we started talking, and we, you know, decided to start working around September. So walk me through sort of the change in like the 3 months before we started working together and the 3 months after we started working together.
Yeah. So June was an all right month, not as good as it could have been. You know, like it was a 5-6 ROAS, something like that. And then July, I was like, I really got to get daily copy out. And so I started writing daily again. And then it was like gangbusters, had a best month that month. And then things got pretty busy. More stuff needed my attention and help and support. And then in August, the daily copy started drifting. And at that point, then I was like, shoot, I got to do something different. And then that's kind of like when I reached out. It's like, this is the third time I write copy, it works, and then I'm not doing it consistently. It's like, all right, let's stop trying to solve the problem with the same logic. And so then that's when we chatted. We started at the beginning of September, and then it was like, bam, right back up to the levels that it was at when I was writing daily in July. And then the cool thing was, it actually allowed me to spend more on ads. And then there's a lot of effects that happen. Like, there's multiple benefits that are really, it's like hard to predict that it's going to happen, but it happens. One is I was able to spend more on ads. We kept hitting a ceiling with our ads based on kind of where we were at. And the reason for that is, like, as we start to scale, sometimes we'd get to colder audiences quicker, and those colder audiences would just be like really not close to ready. You know what I mean? But then the content would help warm them up faster. So that was a big thing that helped it out. The other thing is just like when you're posting daily and you have good content, you get a lot of people reaching out to you. And so it started to create this like distance between the competition and myself where they couldn't keep up. Like the amount of good content we were putting out in relationship to what everyone else does, like we started to be perceived as head and shoulders above the rest, partly because we are head and shoulders above the rest, but then partly because like it helps with just the perception of the marketing. Now granted, I do want to say that none of this stuff would work if we didn't have a good offer and if we didn't have the ability to deliver on our promises, but we have both at this point. So that's what really makes it all like work magically. But then what happened with the content is like the word of mouth starts getting crazy. So like people would be at events talking about us. People would message me like when I'd add them as friends on Facebook, and they'd be like, "Oh, dude, I've heard all about you." And there started being this like thing that wasn't there before, where people would say effectively like, "Yeah, I keep hearing your name come up," or, you know, "I was at this event and I've been hearing good things about what you're doing." And that was like really where it started to crank up. Not to mention, like, you have a lot of people that are on your list that have been probably following you, and then you stop emailing them or you stop being in front of them daily. And then if you just were in front of them daily, it just takes one message, like the right message, and then they say, "All right, I got to get going." Or it's just the day that the thing happens in their life, then they see your name and they go, "Okay, I got to reach out." And there's just a lot more sales that were coming across the line as a result of that too.
Yeah, and we're seeing it sort of. We're seeing the sort of like the cumulative effect of all of the engagements across all of the platforms, and it's starting to sort of affect everything in the business, right?
Yep. We're starting to get like leads from the website. We're starting to get leads from YouTube, starting to get leads just across the board. They're like, we're Facebook heavy, Facebook dominant for sure, but we're starting to see the other platforms are bringing us like good quality traffic as well.
Yeah. And I guess the good thing about publishing every day is you don't have to knock it out of the park every single day. You can just like let inspiration hit. Well, inspiration will hit one day, and some days you'll have a killer post that smashes it out of the park, and then other days it's like average, and then some days you won't have a winner. But it's all adds up.
Yeah, and I think, you know, to add to that, when you're posting every day, sometimes you don't know what's going to work. And then you just try something and you're like, "Holy crap, that worked way better than I would have ever thought it would work." And so like one of the things, you know, so many business owners want to be all serious and stuff, but like you introduced the idea, like, let's start playing with some more memes. And we've been playing with memes, and like the memes are amazing. They get like super good results. People share the crap out of them. They think they're funny. You almost always are getting comments, and like meme posts are some of our best posts. And I didn't have the time to build memes, or I didn't think to build memes even. Like I just thought I'm just going to write hard hitting copy because that's what I do. And like the meme started to build up a different sort of goodwill and awareness in the marketplace, which is, you know, it's like you test stuff that you wouldn't test otherwise when you're publishing daily just to keep it fresh. You find things that your audience will resonate with that you maybe didn't expect. And also people will reach out with more questions, right? Like the people that are deep in the consideration phase, but they're not 100% ready to purchase will reach out to you with more questions because they see that you're active. And then those questions give you insights for how you can constantly dial in your marketing.
Yep. All right. So let me ask you this: before you worked with us, did you work with copywriters on a professional level for your business?
No, I did not, and really, I just had the idea like I'm a good copywriter. I don't need someone to write copy for me. Um, and then, and I think that honestly, like at the time of where we were in the business, that was the right decision to make. But then I got to the point where it's like, okay, I've delegated a lot of stuff that I'm not good at. Now I got to start delegating stuff that I'm good at. And then that's a whole nother like quantum leap that you have to make. And I would say to someone, if you're not good at copywriting, like delegate it as early as possible. In fact, if you don't like sales and you don't like copywriting, I would tell you delegate copywriting before you delegate sales. You know, it will make your sales easier. You'll probably start to like it more anyway because you're getting like more lay down type deals. Because the people are already attuned to you, who you are, what you talk about and stuff, and they like you. And then I would look to delegate sales. But yeah, you got to delegate eventually what you're good at, and then that's a hard thing to let go, especially with copy because people feel like that's me, you know, it's me, it's my personal brand, and people are like super protective of the personal brand. And so it's, you know, what if they say this and then and now the whole world hates me and stuff. What you got to realize is like, first of all, the attention span of people is so minuscule, it doesn't even matter. They will forget it. I promise you they'll forget it in a matter of moments. And then aside from the attention span being so short and like the lifespan or the half-life of a social media post being so short, the other thing is that like, interestingly enough, you know, I feel confident with how you represent the voice and like it, you have done a really good job of matching my voice. You've done a really good job. And like the other thing to tell someone is like, there have been gaps in product knowledge where you say something and then it's like, ah, shit, that's not how our product works. And then we adapt it. And then it takes like literally one quick message. And then from there on out, that post is tweaked. Everything moving forward is tweaked and it doesn't actually have any negative effects. So like, there is going to be an element of like, you have to train someone to understand your product because you as a business owner probably know it better than anyone else. And you're going to have to get them to start to adapt your voice. But if you get the right person, it happens really quickly. So you don't have, and the cost of those mistakes are, you know, a tiny, not even a decimal point or a fraction of what the benefits of getting it off your plate are.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this to you a bunch of times, and I have other clients as well where we do some of their their content marketing and things like that. And on a scale of like 1 to 10 in terms of micromanaging or being pedantic or whatever, I have clients that are like a 9 or a 10, but you're like a 2. Were you naturally like that, or is that something that you had to learn how to do?
I think it's kind of a combination. Like, I'm normally pretty chill anyway, but then like in training salespeople, I started to understand like how to give people space to learn. And so that helps. Like being good at training and managing sales reps has helped me be good at training and managing anybody in a high skill role. And copywriting is a high skill role. So like, it's different than with a virtual assistant. You micromanage the crap out of them, but with someone who's at a high skill, like they don't want to be micromanaged. They want autonomy. And if you just get the right person, you don't really need to do much anyway. So, and in all honesty, I don't even read our posts. I don't read what's coming out in advance. I just trust you that much. And then I'll read them when they come out. And I'm like, haha, that's awesome. And like, it's the first time I'm seeing it is when it's being posted. So that's how much trust I have in your ability to represent the voice and represent the company in the way that like I want it to be represented. And every now and then, there's something that's like, yo, we need to tweak this word. And then we go and we tweak that. Or, yo, we need to dial this back a little bit. And then we dial it back. And then it's only on there for a matter of like minutes and it doesn't have any impact.
Funny, when we started working together, I used to submit the copy for your review before we actually went and published it. And then there was one post that was extremely risque that you and Adriana said, we don't want to post this. I actually posted it on my feed and it smashed it.
Yeah, no, and I figured it would work well. The like I knew the post was gonna work. The reason I didn't want to do it though is because
Yeah, obviously.
we don't have as alpha male of a brand. Like we are still alpha male, but not like as intense of an alpha male as a
Yeah.
brand as yours is, and so it just wouldn't work as good for us.
Yeah. No, I
Um,
mean, obviously, that was me just like I was trying to test where the limit was to your sort of ability to let me just do whatever. So that was me testing the waters.
and dude, to be honest, I read the post and I liked it. I laughed at it and I liked it, and I was like, I would want to post that, but that's just not on brand and it's not for like what we are, you know. And so like I guess that's also part of it. Like when you're good at copywriting, you know that the stuff that's further away from center actually does tend to perform better. And so like I knew it was going to be a smash, but I was just like, is that the smash that we want to have? And it
Yeah.
like wasn't quite that. And so we adapted fast and it wasn't an issue.
Yeah, for real. So yeah, which leads me to my next question. What were some of the uncertainties or concerns that you had before, deciding I need to hire a copywriter or actually deciding, to go with us?
Um, I mean, I had the numbers. I kind of have seen you over time, so I knew you were consistent. Like there's always the uncertainty of like, is this investment actually going to pay out? Are the numbers going to like hold? You know, I'm making a bet on numbers. It's an educated bet, um, and there's always a risk in an educated bet. But I was comfortable with the risk, and it was just like a matter of, are these numbers going to hold consistently, or is this happening because I'm creating waves of buyers of people who are ripe, but like when I start re-engaging the list that they re-engage, or is it something that as we continue doing it, it holds? So that was a question I had. And then the the other uncertainty is just always like there's always an uncertainty in any working relationship. Is this person going to be on time? Is this person going to deliver on time? Is this person going to deliver up to quality? Is this person going to be able to match my voice? And like very quickly, you had gone and then not only delivered to what the expectations were, but over delivered. And then you matched the voice, like nailed it bang on. But I kind of had a sense that you would match my voice well because we have similar voices in our copy anyway. It's kind of this bravado, like braggadocio, hip hop swag with like and so like I knew you had the elements of the voice. It's just how to match it to where my voice was.
Yeah, and I think when we started off, I was a little bit too aggressive, and then you taught me the different what is that called? The different voices. It's like
Flows, yeah, the
yeah,
styles.
yeah, the parent voice, and then the what were the other ones? I have that presentation with me.
Yeah, the child, the adult, and then the parent, and then the different types of parents, the nurturing parent, and then there's the
The father, sort of.
no, it's like the judgmental parent is what I think it is.
Yeah,
And it was like trying to get you closer to the voice, but then also moving through the voices and like uh you know, I think one of the breakthroughs that you had initially was that it's like uh I think about Fife Dog in the Tribe Called Quest, where he's like, styles upon styles is what I have. And it was like, it was kind of like that. Like you got to have a lot of different flows and styles to keep people entertained. Um, Otherwise, if someone's monotone, we like all the boring teachers that we had in school, we call them monotone. And then they just drone on and on with the same tone and the same cadence and the same thing every day, and you hate going to their class. The teachers that keep it fresh, they switch it up, they keep you interested. Those are the people that you enjoy going to their class. And it's the same thing with copy. Like we're just on a social media profile creating a show for people, and so that show has to be entertaining, that show has to be engaging, that show has to be relevant, that show has to be dynamic. And if it is those things, then they tune in for the long haul.
perfect. And yeah, and that was a big breakthrough for me in trying to write for you, is you showing me, like, is you explaining that to me. And I don't think if you weren't as good a copywriter as you were, or at least as educated as you were on the topic, that you would have been able to explain that to me. And I think that really helped a lot in trying to, in actually nailing your voice and sort of switching flows, as it were, from time to time when the I guess the situation required it. So moving on to the next question, um, in terms
I
of,
can I actually just add to that? There's one last thought before we go to the next question.
go ahead.
Um, so when we're on social media, people are looking for people that they like. Like they obviously you have the know, like, and trust. People don't really care that much about like, but they want to like you anyway, right? And then they bond to you as a person. And so like in selling and marketing, you kind of have like, there's elements of bonding that need to be in place. And then there's elements of like education and authority and expertise that need to be in place. And so you need to have both, right? There's people who just show up like authority all the time, and there's no bond, and you just kind of like resent the person even if they're good at it. And then there's people who are like bond all the time, and there's no authority. And then you're like, okay, like I understand that you're a nice person trying your best, but like, what can you actually do for me? I don't think you have any value in the marketplace. And so it's a matter of trying to find that bonding and that authority. And a lot of people I notice, like, they try and hide their personal life and be only authority, or they don't want to be hard hitting and they want to only bond. And it's like understanding that balance between the two, with the voices. And so it's like, there's times where our posts are stuff about life events, like, having a baby or celebrating the holidays, or, just like appreciation for my wife or something like that. That's like a humanizing element. And then there's times where it's just like, yo, you're an idiot if you don't do this, almost. And it's like really hard hitting for the person. And so it creates a three-dimensional person, as opposed to like, if you show up and you're only one thing all the time, you're a one-dimensional person, and a one-dimensional person is not interesting. If you watch any TV show that we like, the characters are good and bad, like Breaking Bad. Like, the thing that's so fascinating is that he's a good guy trying to help his wife, but then he goes into this dark side. And so you see his light and his dark, and he's not a one-dimensional guy, but he's a three-dimensional guy. And I think that like you do a really good job of building up the personal side and the bonding, and then also the authority and like the selling. And so it creates a three-dimensional person who has value in the marketplace, but is also a relatable person.
Perfect. So now that we've built that authority and built that relatability and bonded with the audience, what has been the impact to your business, either tangibly or intangibly?
I mean, we like pretty much doubled inside of like 30 to 60 days. Our average run rate doubled, and then the other things that are happening are just like invitations to get on podcasts, invitations to speak, more and more inbound inquiries of people wanting to purchase or having questions, or people wanting to like more opportunities to team up on things, more opportunities for like JVs, for referral relationships, for all kinds of different things. Like the opportunities have increased, and it's not just opportunities for sales, it's opportunities to get really good talent on the team. It's opportunities to, create good partnerships or relationships. And it's like this whole thing, again, it's like multi-dimensional is what it is. So it's not like, oh, this is only sales. It's everything generally has gotten better.
So it's like branding and direct response, not one or the other.
Yeah, I think that too hard in one way or the other, like you kind of miss the mark. I think that if you can couple the two, where there's a strong brand and strong relationship, and then name recognition, as well as you clearly solve a problem and you know how to talk about that problem and then educate people on what the solutions are available to them, then that's where like you really nail it.
Perfect. And I'm so glad to actually be a part of that, because this was the first time working with you was the first time I actually got to test without the client actually meddling in the copy. I actually got to test all of my sort of theories on how content and the direct response and branding work together. And just wanted to say thank you for that opportunity. And we actually finally got to prove that the shit works.
Yeah, it works great. And doesn't just work, it works great.
Yeah. All right. So, what would you say to anyone who's considering either delegating their copy or delegating their content, but is having a little bit of trouble sort of letting go of the control and taking that leap of faith and trusting, a copywriter?
Yeah. I mean, ask yourself, is this something I'm good at? Is it something I'm not good at? Right? If you're not good at it, get it off earlier. If you are good at it, you still got to get it off your plate. Like, you got to think about it. Like, Frank Kern doesn't even write his own copy. That was like a big thing that hit me. I was like sitting there thinking, like, Frank Kern doesn't write his own copy. Jay Abraham doesn't write his own copy. That says something, right? Like, so once I kind of saw that, I was like, yeah, if I want to play at the level I want to play at, like, I can't just hang on forever. Like, it's a matter of time, and the inconsistency was honestly costing my business more than I realized it was. And so it's like, look at your numbers, consider what it's costing you. What I would tell you to do is even test like being consistent with copy for a period of time, and then watch how your business grows, and then be like, okay, crap, I got to get this off my plate, and then get it to someone. Nabeel is consistent, and he has the style. So it's hard to find both. And I would say, like, absolutely, like, working with you has been awesome, because we don't miss deadlines. We don't have vanilla stuff that doesn't represent us. Like, we have both, which is really the best.
Perfect. I guess that's the fine point to sort of end this interview. Thank you, Mark, for coming on and agreeing to do this. I appreciate it talking with you and sort of getting to ask you the questions about how this relationship has been.
Yeah, it's been fun, and I look forward to continuing it. So.
All right. Yeah. So do I. All right. Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you, Nabeel.
Okay. Cool.